Welcome back to Sailing El Jaleo! This week we continue our trek north where we begin to be hampered quite regularly by poor weather. And I think it might be time to slow down a little bit. We left Delaware to get out of the cold weather, and now we're getting right back into it. Although I have to admit the puppy dogs are loving it, so that's a good thing. So I guess we might as well go ahead and get right into it. Grab a drink, climb aboard, and let's get going. When we left off last week, we had anchored for the evening in Jekyll Creek, right behind Jekyll Island in Georgia. And we actually ended up staying there for an extra day, waiting out some thunderstorms. And it gave me an opportunity in the afternoon to finally get off my lazy butt and get out there and clean the bottom of the boat. Our claggy bottom had been slowing us down for quite a bit. And I got out there. I did have a stiff bristled brush with a 4-foot handle on it, so I was able to get the majority of the hull clean. I couldn't get down to the keel. I certainly wasn't going to get into the water, but I got it as well as I could from the dinghy. The next morning we got underway and headed up Jekyll Creek. Jekyll Creek is a known shallow spot on the Intracoastal Waterway, and with a deep draft boat like ours, we certainly couldn't make it through at low tide. There are sections of it that are only about 4 feet deep at low tide, and when we got up that morning, it was pretty close to high tide, so we thought we'd have a good shot of making it through. And as we went through, I think the lowest I saw was about 8.5 feet, so yep, there was plenty of room for us to make her through. By this point in our travels, the new pack dynamics after adding Hanwi into the mix had begun to shake out. You'll notice in these time-lapse videos, very rarely do you ever see Linus at the front of the boat when Hanwi isn't with him. Linus and Hanwi had begun to form a very close relationship. At night when we sleep, Linus and Hanwi sleep up front with me in the V-berth, and Neptune he's a much more stoic, solitary guy. He likes to sleep out in the living room on his own bed. And it's the same during the day. If we're anchored somewhere, Neptune prefers to be outside, Linus prefers to be inside, and then it's a constant bouncing back and forth for Hanwi. Hanwi and Linus seem to have much more of a father-daughter relationship. Very rarely do they ever fight. They're always snuggling. Whenever something, like if we hit rough weather, or if a boat goes by fast and we get waked or rocked and it gets a little bit dicey, Hanwi heads straight for Linus. And wherever Linus is, Hanwi's right there beside him, snuggled right next to him. And whenever Hanwi is spoiling for a fight, she looks for Neptune. So her and Neptune have a much more adversarial relationship, and her and Linus have much more of a parental relationship. And I am so glad that Hanwi is on board with us. She has really, really brought a spark to the pack and to the family, and I'm just so glad she's with us. You know, she's a pain in the ass. She is very high maintenance. Like I said, she's constantly up and down, and when she gets a bug in her brain and starts howling, oh my god, it is the most shrill thing on earth, and she won't let up. But we're so glad she's with us. At this point in our journey, we were getting into the heart of Georgia, and you know, I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think my memory works a little bit differently than most people. I have almost zero active recall of memories if they haven't happened within the last few months. Like if you asked me to recall a memory about a specific person, I would have a difficult time doing that. All of my memories are triggered by sights, sounds, music, that kind of stuff. And I can remember just about everything, but it has to be triggered. I can't actively access it, which is a little frustrating at times. But it's like, I think in computer terms, it would be like I have a lot of memory, but almost no RAM. I think that's a good comparison. I'm not really 100% sure. But anyway, the reason why I bring all this up is because we were getting into the heart of Georgia, and I had the entire trip, I'm now back in North Carolina right now, and I've remembered every section of the ICW. I'll get to a bridge and I'll say, oh yeah, I remember that, and I know what's coming up in the next 5 miles. And then I get 5 miles down the waterway and I'll see something else, you know, a house or a sign or something, and oh yeah, I remember that. Now I know exactly where I am, and I know the next, you know, 5 miles, and so on and so forth. But when we got to this section of Georgia, I had absolutely no memory of it at all, which is really bizarre, because normally I can recall just about anything. And it was really quite a pleasant surprise, because I got to rediscover this beautiful, beautiful landscape all over again. Right. The next morning we headed north again, and it was an amazing day. It was cooler out, the sun was out, and we went the entire day without seeing any hint of civilization other than a couple of other boaters. It was just a wonderful day. We anchored in the middle of nowhere. There was no light pollution. We could see all the stars. And Georgia is such a beautiful, beautiful state. The entire East Coast, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, just absolutely spectacular. Once you get a little bit off the beaten path, they are just so beautiful, each in their own way. None of them are as beautiful as, well, South Carolina is, because it's in South Carolina, but the Waccamaw River and Prince Creek specifically is one of my absolute favorite places on earth that I've visited thus far, and you guys will get to see that coming up. But the entire East Coast, it is so rugged and beautiful. I am in heaven every time I go through there. Hey y'all, we are currently in Georgia, and we have nothing around us as far as the eye can see. And we've got a hanging sleeping bag that's drying out. Boy, this is just beautiful. Never would have known this place existed if I hadn't have come here. There was rain in the forecast for the following evening, so I decided to take the chance to go ahead and give El Jaleo a bath. In high humidity environments, there's always a good layer of dew on the entire deck in the morning, and over time a little bit of black mold starts to form, so at least once a month I like to get out the scrub brush and the soap and give El Jaleo a good bath. And I always try and coordinate it during a time when it's going to rain, so I can use salt water on the deck to do all of the cleaning, and then when it rains, she'll get a nice freshwater rinse. Weeks. Come on in, princess. Now you go potty? Okay, come on in. Come on in, Wegan. Come on. Hey y'all, we are in Georgia still, and we've been, I think this is Redbird Creek. We've been here for a few days now. It was raining all day yesterday, which I think was Saturday, so we must have got here Thursday night, We stayed here Friday, which was a nice day, but I didn't want to move on to Savannah yet because I knew this nasty weather was coming in. I'd much rather be out here in the wilderness. And we're at high tide now, and it is cold out. Yesterday was raining, this morning was raining, and it is just frigid. Oh my God, it's in the 50s. And yeah, it's just a nice little reminder that maybe I shouldn't worry about getting north too quickly, because it is the beginning of April. And yeah, we got the diesel heater on. I'm glad we have some fuel for it. And yeah, we're just hunkered downstairs editing videos and trying to stay warm. It's actually kind of nice to have a few down days. And it's actually kind of nice to run the heater. Get some dry heat inside, which is all right. But yeah, hope y'all are well. And that's all we have time for this week. I would love to give a massive shout out to my Patreon crew. Without your guys' support, I would not make these videos. And my Patreon crew is Joan and Judy Judnick, Val and Chris Alcorn, Denise and Eli Sackett, Joan and Jim Linbo, Sherry Erickson, Deb Shaw, and Matthew Spott. Thank you guys so very much. It really means the world to me. If you are interested in joining our Patreon crew, there is a link in the description down below. If you click on that link, it'll take you to our Patreon page where you can sign up. And there you'll have access to hundreds of behind-the-scenes photos and update videos. And I try and post 2 or 3 times a week to give you real-time updates where we're at and what's going on. And you would help support the channel, which would be awesome. And if you do like our videos, please like, comment, and subscribe. That helps us out as well. Alrighty, I hope you all are well, and I'll see you next week.